Hello, my name's Elena. I'm going to be starting off by talking about the joints, and to get this started, I'm just going to apologize in advance. I do have puppies in the background. There are different types of joints that we have in the body. We have multiple. We have the iliopsoas joint, which is within the shoulder. This kind of just causes the shoulder movement. It's self-explanatory. We have the swivel joint. So the swivel joint entails your neck, where you can move it side to side and back and forth and up and down. And we have the saddle joint. So it's not as it sounds. The saddle joint is within the wrist, so we can move it back, forward, side, and to side. Just gives us some mobility. And then we have the hinge joint, which is kind of self-explanatory. It's the knee, so to where the knee can, I'll show you more movements later on, where you can open and close the knee. And then we have the ball and socket joint. So this is within the hip. It's kind of where you can flex it in and out, kind of how people can do the splits. I like to correlate it within a Barbie. When you were little, if you were to see a little kid take the legs off of a Barbie, it has a little ball on it. In order to get that ball back in, you have to snap it back. It's kind of like the hip and socket joint example that I like to use. We have the plane joint. So within the plane joint, we have your ankle. So within your ankle, you can flex it up, flex it down, flex it side to side. All of the joints entail the elbow, knee, hip, shoulder, neck, ankles and toes, and wrist. And I do have some demonstrations here on a piece of paper, kind of what each joint in the drawing is. So within this one, we have the gliding joint, kind of like I said, with the types of joints. And then we have the pivot joint, kind of here, pivoting this way if you were to pivot your foot. And then you have the hinge joint. So the hinge joint was the knee. And then we have the iliopsoas joint. So that'd be your shoulder, the movement of your shoulder. And then here we have the saddle joint. And then over here we have the bone and socket. So within those we have what we call the synoranthrose. I think I'm pronouncing this again wrong. Synoranthurosis or something. It's where it's an immovable bone. It just does not move. It's stationary. And then we have the amphitherosis, which is where it's slightly movable, and I do have examples of those. And then we have the diatherosis, which is freely movable. Immovable would consist of like sutures in the skull, and slightly movable is like a vertebrae disc, such as like the ribs or the pelvis. And then we would have freely movable, which is kind of like I said, the hands, the hips, the shoulders, the knees, the elbows, the head, the neck, and etc. So it kind of, we have more movable bones than we do immovable, or more movable joints than we do immovable joints, if that does make sense. And I will explain those. I'm going to clip them in, because these animals, so if you see a glitch in the video, I did clip it in. So. Hello, today I'm going to be showing you some body movements. So we have, when you lay down, that is flexion, extension, lateral flexion, looking backwards, and then we have the forward motion, backward rotation, abduction, adduction, flexion, extension. And in order to move your arms in multiple circles, different ways, it's kind of like a good stretch. That's abduction. And then we have adduction if you were to stretch your arm across. And then we have flexion, like this, extension, and then we have with our hands down, up, side to side, kind of like I showed earlier. And then with your foot, you can bend your foot this way, you can bend it down, you can bend it over and over. So those are a few movements, and I'm sorry I had to clip in the other part of this video. I have crazy puppies, so thank you.